Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We're here for week 11 of the NFL. I hope everyone's having a kick ass week out there. I know I am, and the weather's been absolutely beautiful, especially if you love the cold exposure. There's been no rain here in Vancouver. It's been pretty exciting. But, guys, so far this season, 57% in Pickem. It's been not that great, especially the past 5 weeks. Last week went 6-8, and in the spread, I've dropped pretty badly down to 53%. So if you're a gambling person, you know 55% is kind of that threshold where you become a profitable player. And so 53, not great, but again, I'm picking every game. And if you're playing with a bankroll, playing with real money, you're not playing every game. You're looking for the ones where you have edges. So shoot for above 55%. But guys, we're going to do a pick'em style video here for week 11. Might talk a little bit about spreads, but overall, these are just my pick'ems. And if you want to see who I pick against the spread, I do release it Sunday mornings over on my Twitter account. So make sure check that out. So like, subscribe, and etc. And we're going to jump into it with Atlanta Falcons hosting the Chicago Bears. Atlanta's had a little bit of an extra break here with the Thursday night game last week, and the Bears coming off that heartbreaking loss, 31-30 against the Lions. Bears, I think a lot of people expected them to win that game last week. However, in the division, we knew Fields was trying to make his breakout party, and he's looking like he's able to carry this offense. On the other side of it, the defense has fallen back a lot since the beginning of the season. They traded away most of their veteran talent around the trade deadline, so the Bears' defense is a little more questionable than it was at the beginning. However, I think they're going to pull out a win here against Mariota and the Atlanta Falcons on the road. Both these teams are pretty close. Realistically, I guess they technically have playoff chances. Whoever loses here is pretty much going to be completely done for the season in terms of playoffs, but they have long-distance shots. It probably would make your chances of making the playoffs almost zero if you lose this one. But I got the Bears. I think they're going to come out and keep Mariota at least at bay. He's been a little bit questionable in some of his playmaking decisions. I know he fits well into this offense, but I think it's come a lot more back to earth after a very exciting first 6 weeks or so with the Falcons. On to the next game here. We got the Ravens hosting the Carolina Panthers. Believe this spread is 13 and is the biggest of the week, so I'm not going to go too much into detail here. I expect the Ravens coming out of that bye week they just had to keep the momentum going on top of this AFC North. Ravens need to win this one, keep it going, and the Panthers, on the other hand, no expectations here. Their defense has definitely shown up the past few weeks, but this is one of those situations to me where the Ravens offense, how it's different from everyone else, it's going to really give this Panthers team someone that might have got a little bit of momentum, a routine going on the defense. They're going to have trouble. So I do think the Ravens are going to easily win this game, and we could see an absolute blowout. Next up, Bills hosting the Cleveland Browns, and they're not really going to be hosting because unless you're living under a rock, you know this game's moved to Detroit. The snow in Buffalo has been pretty fun to watch. Shout out to Jesse, who is living in Buffalo, sending photos over to me, and it's cool to see how much snow has been pounded in there. But they're going to be playing in a dome instead in Detroit. I think the Bills really, really need a statement game. This is against a team like the Browns who've had their ups and downs this season. They've had a chance to take a hold of this division, and then they haven't really stepped up to the occasion. On any given night, I think they're going to be a team that's going to compete and give most teams in the AFC a chance to have a defeat. But I think the Bills just want it more. They're the stronger team. They are really probably just crushed by the way they lost last week. So I expect to see big things from this offense. Josh Allen's got to really turn a corner here. And I think the Bills are going to be doing that. Next up, one of the least exciting games of the week. We got the Houston Texans hosting the Washington Commanders. And guys, I got to take Washington here. Washington's 5-5, which is pretty surprising. I think for a lot of people at this point in the season, myself included. They've had a couple of interesting wins, right? They just coming off that win against the Eagles on Monday night. They beat Green Bay. Like they're beating some tough teams. So the fact that they're coming in here, I think it's 1-7-1 Houston Texans. I think it's pretty safe to say the safe bet's definitely going to be on the Commanders. When we're looking at the spread, 3.5 points, Houston at home. That's quite a big home dog, and a defense that's pretty solid. They always have trouble getting the offense going, but maybe they'll get something going. I think in a spread situation, I'm going to definitely be playing the Houston Texans. Although I'll be honest, when it comes to the Texans this season, on the spread, I've not had a great track record. I think I'm something like 3-7, so take that for what it's worth. Next game up, we have the Colts hosting the Eagles. Eagles coming off that Monday night shocker for a lot of people. And I don't know how many other people out there last week were shocked by the Colts with their win, but I think it was in the cards. Raiders are now down to 2 wins, and then they came out there, and Matt Ryan's back. They got the new coach in there. A lot of momentum, and they're definitely riding on a high. On the other hand, we got the Eagles, who had their first loss of the season. I think they're finally got a taste of it, so the Dolphins can hold on to it for one more year. But I think they're going to come in here and show that their record stands. Like, that's the team. We've seen the Colts beat the Chiefs earlier in the season, but come on. Could be a close game, though. If I don't know what the spread is at this point, I forget. But Colts could be a good one at home. Next up, division rivals, Jets, Patriots, guys. Patriots, 3.5-point favorites against the Jets. I know in this exact situation a couple of weeks ago, I picked the Jets. They were at home. I think they ended up being favorites in that one. I can't quite recall. It was one of those ones I flipped on at the last minute. I think I picked the Jets to win, but I had Patriots for the majority at the beginning of the week. This situation, I want to go back to my well here. I think the reason I picked the Jets last couple weeks ago still stands. And if we look back at the game where they actually played each other, a lot of people will say Zach Wilson played pretty poorly, and mind you, he did. But on the other side, Mac Jones, he did not play well either, and he was one interception away from a play that got overturned from completely falling apart. So I think it was pretty much a coin flip that time, pretty much a coin flip this time. I'm going to go back to the well, and if you're betting the spread, I'm definitely taking the Jets 3.5 on the road underdogs, because this is a field goal game written all over it. Next up, Saints versus the Rams, and these two teams I've not done well with this season. I'm going to go back to the Saints here. I know I took them last week, and they disappointed me against the Steelers. The Rams, I started selling on them a couple weeks ago. I definitely had the Cardinals last week, and I think this is another one. I just keep selling on the Rams. Matthew Stafford's probably going to be back. I know it says he's going to be there, but unless something happens, he'll be there. Andy Dalton for the Saints is in a situation when he's not pass rushed. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And the Rams have had one of the worst pass rushes of all the teams in the NFL. Mac has just been triple-double teamed constantly, and other than him, they have not been able to get anything whatsoever going. So I think this is a spot with Cooper Kupp now on the IR for the Rams that you got to go with the Saints. Next up, Giants versus the Lions. Not a lot to talk about here, honestly. The Giants have surprised most this season with their record, and I know the Lions had that nice win against the Bears last week. I don't think that their offense is going to be able to get as going against the Giants as it did against the Bears. Giants are a lot stronger. I think the Giants are going to be able to slow the game down with Barkley and all the weapons. They can spread the ball out, 5-yard plays over and over and over again. So I just think it's going to be somewhat of a lower scoring game than the Lions are used to. And from the experience so far this season, when the Lions aren't able to just put up lots of points, they tend to not put up many points. So I think that's going to be one of those situations. And record-wise, not a big difference between these two teams. All right, next up, Broncos-Raiders. Raiders have just dominated the Broncos for the past number of years. I've been constantly betting on the Raiders. I laugh here because it's been kind of my reason the past couple of weeks. Like I've just been high on the Raiders. I should pick them. They're still low. Like it's like buy low, buy low, buy low. But maybe I'm just a sucker at this point. But I think the Raiders are the best 2-win team I've ever seen. But yeah, like I don't. What else can I say other than that? I think that they're just underpriced on the market, and I'm gonna take them here. And I think it's pretty interesting. We On the other side, if I'm playing devil's advocate, the Broncos have Russell Wilson, who maybe is getting something going. It's tough to say, but he's got a lot of trouble, a lot of injuries on the offensive side for the Broncos to even help support him there. So maybe this is the most points. If Wilson can just like absolutely carry this team, Derek Carr plays terrible. That's how I see that one going. All right, we got the Vikings hosting the Dallas Cowboys, and this one is Darisaw is the big question mark for the Vikings offensive line, left tackle for the Vikings. He's been a big part of why Cousins has been able to do what he has been able to do this season, and he's questionable, and he's just like the top tackle on the left side in the NFL right now. So if he's not there, and then we have on the other side Mika attacking from Dallas, it's going to be a whole different game. So a big part of my pick is going to come down to that. Right now, though, I am leaning to go with the Cowboys. Faked you out there for a second. I almost said Vikings. But leaning Cowboys, I think with Dak Prescott back under center, Pollard has been monster for them. They have some of the wide receiver weapons. I think at least on offense, they should be able to match up pretty well with the Vikings, and I think the defense gives me a little bit of edge. I know Vikings defense has been awesome so far this season too, so it's going to be one of the top games of the week. Moving on, we got the Steelers hosting the Bengals. This originally was the Sunday night game, but they swapped it out for the next one we'll talk about. Don't know why. I think this game is setting up to be a very good game, honestly, and I'm actually going to go with the Steelers here. I watched this game in full. I think it was week 1 when they played each other, and they just went back and forth, missed field goals, blocked field goals, and I think the Bengals won in overtime. If I recall correctly, I honestly don't even remember who won, but I think the Steelers are better than they were that team. They got TJ Watt, who was absolutely crazy in that game against the Bengals in week 1. Maybe they're a little bit better, more in tune to be able to defend against them this week. I know in that week 1, and their offensive line they're all new playing together. That was a big part. So now they've had 10 games to get to know each other. They'll probably be better, but at the same time, the Steelers have a new quarterback. They got some of their younger guys being able to step up on the offensive side of the ball. I think we're going to see a really good game here, and I'm going to go with the home team. They've just seem to be better coached all the time. So I'm giving it the coach's edge here with Mike Tomlin. Next up, Sunday nighter, Kansas City going into the Chargers, and it's not even a question for me. I think Kansas City's top team in the AFC. Chargers always play the Chiefs really tough, and the spread this week, I believe, is around 5.5. Might be 5, might be 6 at this point. It's going to be in that area, and it comes down to the last year when these guys, I think this is the first time they're meeting this year, I believe. And the last time they met last year, they went to overtime, and the Chiefs won by 6 off a touchdown, so it's kind of like maybe that's how this is shaping up to possibly go again. But yeah, I just like the Chiefs to get it done in the clutch against their division rival, and Andy Reid gonna be that wild card. That's not really a wild card. All right, Monday nighter, Mexico City. This game is taking place in. Don't forget that. From the history, Mexico City has had much higher scoring games. It's unclear if Murray or Colt McCoy is going to be playing at this point. We know Murray missed last week with a hamstring injury, and if we look at the numbers, Colt McCoy might give them as good of a chance to win as Murray has, so far at least. Murray's numbers have not been good this season, so is it really a big downgrade? If you're thinking in terms of the spread that has an impact, then it probably doesn't and shouldn't if you're calculating. But But I think when it comes down to it, I like San Francisco to win this game. The spread's pretty big though, so if you're looking at that, don't. That's kind of why I mentioned the Colt McCoy thing. Don't go too far into that, because that's the picks. Thursday night we had Titans. Oh, it's not showing up for you guys. Titans, Green Bay. Titans won that one by 10. A bye week for my Dolphins. It's gonna be kind of sad, but they're setting them up for a good playoff push. Jaguars, Seahawks, and Buccaneers as well taking their bye week. Guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think for your picks. What are your picks below? What do you think I might have missed that could be a key point for some of these games that might change my opinion? I would appreciate any support. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys watching to the end. Peace out.